Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over glowing or emissive textures in Unreal Engine 5. Now, you see we have a world already here, and this is a accumulation of a bunch of our other tutorials. So if you don't know how to make a world, I do have tutorials, and we also have created the brick material, we have a wood floor in there, and a painted wall, and we've created all of this in other tutorials, and I'll link those in the description. But now we're going to start with our glowy, cool material. So the first thing we need is a mesh to put the material on. Now you say, why don't we just use the shapes over here? Well, the shapes don't really play nice with it. Some of the settings are kind of awkward when you start playing around with it, and they don't give you the full picture of what you can do. So we're going to actually make a mesh. We'll do a shape and it'll be a sphere, but we're going to make it in mesh mode. So go up here to, instead of selection mode, go to modeling, okay? And then we're going to go sphere right here. So click on sphere. You can pop it in anywhere in the world. Kind of zoom into it a little bit. I do have videos that tell you how to control everything and how all of everything works. And you can see for radius here, let's put in 20. If you don't have 20 in there, put in 20. And then come down here for new asset location, put to current folder. Now you could save it with your materials, but I have a meshes folder. So if you want, you can make a meshes folder. And then when it's highlighted here, if you have new asset location, current folder, and you hit accept on your sphere, it'll create it in that folder. So we'll just hit accept. Now we can delete the one out that's in the world. Get rid of that. And in our content drawer, it has this new sphere here that it's made for us. So let's just click on that and rename it. Let's call it SM Sphere. Okay. There you go. Now we have something to put our material onto. Our glowy material. That'll work well. So let's pull that into the world. Kind of zoom into it a little bit. So let's make a master material so that we can make material instances and have a bunch of different glowy colors. So right click in your content drawer wherever you want your materials, create a new material, and we'll call it Emissive. All right, let's open that up. Maximize it. And then we can kind of zoom in a little bit here. And let's hold the 4 key and push the left mouse button. That'll give you a vector 4. Let's pull that out a little bit. Now we can put a color in for that. Let's just do white, and let's put the alpha right here to 1. Okay, so it'd be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, now let's rename this, convert it to a parameter, and we'll call it emissive color. So pull that back a little bit. Let's put in a multiply. You can right click and search for multiply, or you can hold M and left click. And now we'll plug this into the multiply. Hold 1 and F click, or you can search this constant out. And you can put in this value here, and we'll put in 1 for no change for now. And let's convert it to a parameter by right clicking. And let's call it emissive strength. All right, so now plug that into the multiply. Now plug this into emissive color. And there you go. Now you have our 2 parameters into the multiply, into the color. So let's just save that straight away. You can do other things with the shading mode here. If you don't need it to take any lighting, you can have it be unlit just to save a little bit. But we're going to keep it as default lit right now. So now we'll shut that down. Now let's make a material instance so we can make our glowy green color. So right click on our material, create material instance, go MI, emissive, and go green. Okay. Now open that puppy up. And you'll notice our 2 parameters that are exposed here. We have emissive strength and emissive color. Let's click on color. Open that up. Let's just put in 0 for red and 0 for blue, and that'll give us green. So 1 in the green. All right? And then for emissive strength, let's tick that box. Let's put in 20. So now let's plug our emissive green onto our model. Bunk. There it is. Now we have our cool glowy color. And you can see it's lighting up this portion of the wall as well, which is really cool. That's lumen acting with your emissive material and combining with your regular lighting to create some pretty cool effects. But that's not all. Stick around, because there are some things that are trip ups and hang ups with this, and we're going to cover those now. So I'm going to drag this into our little house we have built here. And now you see, let me kind of get it in a good position here. And now you can see there's this blotchiness to it. You see the blotchiness there? Maybe I need to F11 it so you can really see. See how it's kind of shimmering and being blotchy? We're going to fix those things. So F11 to come back into the engine. I'm going to shrink this window a little bit. We don't need that one to be quite as big anymore. We're going to open this one just a little bit. And you can also see when you zoom out and in, it's kind of popping in relatively close. Now, and you can change that distance. So I'll show you how to do all of that. So the first thing we need to do to kind of fix these things is we need a post-process volume in our world. So let's go out here, and you can see that I already have one in here. There it is, post-process volume. Okay. Now to create your own, you would go back up here, change back to selection mode, search for post-process, and then just pull it in. Okay. And then once you get it in here, and you have it selected, you want to search for unbound, and it'll be infinite extent unbound, and click on that, and that'll mean the post-process volume will affect everything in your world, and you won't have to worry about surrounding your world with the box. Okay? And now we have a post-process volume in there. So the post-process volume can be placed anywhere, and we're going to head back in and look at our emissive material. You can see how it's doing this crazy speckly thing right here. That will never be good enough for any game. So let me show you how to fix that. The first thing we want to go into is our post-process volume and go to our global illumination tab here on the right. So I'm going to start from the plane or something, and we'll go to post-process volume. You can see you can do all these different tabs. Go to global illumination. The first thing we want to turn off, I don't like, is screen traces. Now you can see the screen traces are on right now, and what that's doing is it's trying to approximate the lighting based on what's happening on the screen. So you see if you look down, you don't get any lighting at all because it's doing a screen space effect. If I go to this side, if I go to that side, but it also, not only does it do that, it fades out. I don't really like the screen space effect, but it's also so blotchy and nasty. So let's select that and tick it off. And there you go. Now there's no screen space effect at all. But there's also no lighting at all. So if you go a little closer, now you'll start to see the lighting again. Now, when you get closer, the lighting's still a little splotchy. That's kind of lumen for you, right? So it's trying to calculate the lighting based on the emissive strength, and the lighting still has a few splotches in it, and you can improve that with final gather quality here in your global illumination of your post-processing. So let's tick on that, and you can kind of look at the change here, and we're going to put it to 2. And you can see some of those splotches went away. Maybe not all of them, but it did smooth it out quite a bit. Now, it's important to note, be careful with final gather quality. A lot of people will just say, crank it up to 50, and when they're doing tutorials, or crank it up to 10, or whatever. This is severely heavy on performance. So you want to keep that as low as possible where you're still happy with the lighting, right? So, what's the last thing? Well, the last thing is, so it's kind of fading out fast, right? So if I'm right here, it shouldn't be fading out that fast. It's doing that for performance reasons, but we can actually improve that as well. And we improve that with lumen scene detail. Let me show you. I'll go back out a little bit here. We'll back out to here, and we'll go to lumen scene detail. And then you can see how it says, again, be careful with this. And you can kind of up it. And eventually, you'll see our light zooms back in. So depending on how far you want it to come in and how small your light source is, you might have to change this lumen scene detail here. Let's try 1.5 and see how that looks. Yeah, I think it does need to stay at 1.75. So when you're coming in the door, you already have the light. All right. So now we turned off screen traces, which is the screen effect that was giving us that really, really blotchy look. We also upped our final gather quality, and we also added some lumen scene detail to it to give us a really nice effect. Now you say, okay, so what if I have 10 million? What if I want to make a cool sci-fi environment and we're going to have lights everywhere? We can't have these lights affecting lumen. How do we make this emissive material not affect the lighting? Okay, well, there's a couple ways. We can select our mesh here, and you can see on the SM sphere here, we can scroll down until we get to the lighting section. And just keep scrolling down in the lighting section. And right here, we have this effect dynamic indirect lighting tick. And we also have the effect distance field lighting. If we turn both of those off, it won't light up our world at all. And we can just have the emissive without it. Okay? So we're going to tick them back on for now because there's another way to do it too. Now say, well, that's all good and fine, but I want to be able to do it on every single one, and why would I have to go through every single place I put this material on? You can actually change that in your master material as well. So we'll go back to our emissive master material here down on the bottom. And if you change your mode here, right now it's set to opaque. If you change this to either translucent or additive, it won't affect the lighting. So watch. We'll go additive and then save. And now you're not going to be able to get that to light up the environment now because this material is not going to be able to do that because the blend mode is just additive. You can do additive or translucent. I tend to side with additive because I believe it would be a bit more performative friendly. Okay, so let's turn it back to regular and then save our master material again, and now it'll light everything back up and shut that down. Now I'm going to show you the lighting with like a model that has multiple materials on it. So let's move this one over to the side for now. And in my meshes, I probably made the world's goofiest looking light fixture, but I'm just going to pull it in for now. I'm going to show you how we can make this work. So I'm just going to go, the height should be 320 to get it up to the top. I'm just going to make these even numbers because it bothers me. Okay. So there's going to be our light fixture, okay? So now, since we have our light fixture set up so we can have two different materials on it, I have one that's M blockout black, and I have one that's just M blockout. And we're going to add our material to it, our emissive one. So let's make a new material instance, and let's call this, let's just duplicate this one. We're going to call it MI emissive, and we'll call it yellow. Okay. So let's open that up, and we'll keep the emissive strength 20 for now, and just add 1 to the red. That'll turn it yellow, because of course red and green make yellow. Click OK, save, and now we'll add this material to that model, right? So zonk. It takes a second, and now you have our new emissive material up there, and it's already lighting up the environment. But you're saying, well, I don't really have a lot of control over that. So what you could do is you go to that model. We scroll down here on the right hand side. We turn off that it affects dynamic indirect lighting. Turn off the fact that it's distance field lighting too. And it'll still have the nice glow, but it won't actually be lighting in our environment. Now say we want to be able to control the lighting better, right? So we can add a regular light in. So let's go to the right and let's just pull in a point light from our lights. Pull that up. And now we have a lot more control over the brightness of that light. Now if we put it at the same position, so this is at 85, negative 1200. Let's just do that. There you go. Now we have a good position for the light. We can take this, let's have it so this doesn't create a shadow because that looks kind of goofy to have the shadow. So scroll down for the details of the light fixture here. Click off shadow, so now there's no shadow. Now if you kind of hide the light, it looks like the light is just emitting light on its own. And we can obviously change this to make it match better. So we'll put the light intensity down to say 4. Let's change the light color to some sort of yellow. Maybe not quite as saturated. Something like that. Now the benefit of this, we're still getting the green from this glow. Let's pull that out of there quick. So there you go. Now you're getting the light from a real light, but you're getting the glow. So if you hit G for game mode, it still looks like it's coming from the light, and now you have the control of the actual light itself. So you can change the attenuation, you can change the intensity, and all sorts of the other settings. And I will in the future go through more lighting tutorials. And we'll kind of run through all the best practices with lumen and everything like that. But for now, let's just delete this out. That just gives you a good idea of some of the options that you have. I'm going to just delete that one back out, and we'll kind of do a couple fun things, and then we'll get going. So I'm going to pull the green one back in and let it kind of do its thing. And then maybe, why don't we take that yellow and just pop it on the wall? And that kind of goes crazy, right? And now you can see that the whole room is being lit by just this one wall. And the more light you have, the less of the artifacting you're going to get too. So let's just make one more. Let's duplicate this. Let's call it MI blue. Actually, let's make 2 more. Let's duplicate that. MI red. Okay. So on blue, we'll obviously open that one up. Change that to blue color. 0, 0. Let's duplicate this. Pull our blue onto there. Beautiful. And let's make one last one. Let's change this color to red. And there you go. Now, if you want to get rid of this wall just for temporary, just to make sure everything's glowing correctly, you see there's the 3. Then you can just put your wall back in, and you've got some sort of crazy glowy balls all over the place here. And now you can kind of see the craziness of all of this going on at the same time. Now, as I've said before, and say many times with doing stuff like this, be careful with emissive and piling lights on top of each other. The more you do, the more your performance is gonna go down. So use this stuff semi-sparingly, but you can, obviously you can see we're still getting good performance here. So there you go. That's the cool funky glowy stuff, and that's a basic into emissive materials. And I wanted to give us a primer because I'm going to be going into a couple different other tutorials. We're going to do some space station sci-fi looking walls with some glowy emissives going on, and we're also going to do a lighting tutorial. So hopefully that was helpful. Pretty fun to play around with, so have fun. I hope you have a great day, and thank you for watching. I am a small channel. If you could like and subscribe, that would be great. But I really hope you take care of yourselves and have a good one.